Today I want to talk about how to stay sexually pure. And I know this is kind of a subject that a lot of people veer from, but I feel like it's one of the most important things that we need to talk about in our churches as leadership, to give guidelines for those that are having problems, because let's face it, this is one of the biggest problems that we are facing in our society today. So I want to talk about this. I want to read out of Job chapter 31. The Bible says, or Job said, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? Now what I want you to understand, being the first part of being sexually pure, we have to take a look at and see and evaluate what's coming in, because whatever's coming in eventually is going to go out. Alright, so that's the reason why that Job here, when he talks about purity and him being pure, we know that Job was a perfect man. We know he was a great man. And at the end of the story, kind of tells how God felt about him. But in this, he says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. The beginning of purity was the eyes. Because here's what it comes down to. If your eyes are looking out, then he goes on and says, why then should I think upon a maid? Now you can't think about something that you haven't seen. Alright, you see what I'm saying? In other words, I guess I should say it's easier to think about something that you have seen with your eyes. You're fueling your mind whenever you're looking at things you shouldn't look at. Alright, so and then he goes on and he says, why then should I think upon a maid? So when we allow things to come through our eyes, it goes into our minds. Thus, Romans chapter 8, where the Bible talks about the battle between the mind, the spiritual, the carnal. And so we see that whatever we feed the most is what we're going to be thinking about. If we spend more time watching movies that we shouldn't watch, or watching shows we shouldn't watch, or seeing things that we shouldn't see, then that carnal mind is going to win out, because we're thinking about the carnal things, and we're not reading our Bibles, and we're not praying, and we're not doing the things that we need to do to feed that spiritual part of ourselves. So we see that battle that's going on. Now we need to understand that in the society we live in, we're going to see things, but we don't have to focus on those things. The song that Pastor Davis sings, I can't remember who the original writer was, who the original singer was, but it says, it's the second glance that ties the hands. And so we need to understand that that first glance is not something that necessarily will send us to hell, but whenever we look and then we look back and we focus on that, then we allow it to get into our minds, then that's where the problem lies. So the origin, the beginning of purity starts right here in the eyes. What are you looking at? Second of all, what are you thinking about? Are you allowing those things to go through your mind, or through your eyes to your mind, for you to think upon these things? And then third, and then we read down in verse number 7 of chapter 31 of Job, says, if my step hath turned out of the way, and my heart walk after my eyes, and if any blot hath cleaved to mine hands. So we see it goes from the eyes to the mind. Then he says, if my heart walked after mine eyes. So the heart follows. When you see something and you think upon that, then it goes from your mind and it gets into your heart. You see, the heart is the center of the feelings. You begin to feel things. And then when you begin to feel things, all of a sudden, as he says here at the end of the verse, he says, and if any blot hath cleaved to mine hands. It moves from the heart to the hands. We all know the Bible talks about out of the heart, the mouth speaketh. You see, we speak, we do what's in that heart, what we feel. So it starts from the eyes. I want to encourage you here today to stay sexually pure. Don't feed those eyes. Don't feed that carnal self. Alright? Don't allow those things, that carnal mind, to think upon these things. When you do see it, when you hopefully see the first glance and then move your eyes off. And then second of all, when it comes into your mind, you have to get that out of your mind. And don't allow it to get into your heart. When it gets into your heart, then you're in trouble, because eventually it's going to come out in the actions that you